7:43, live look at the White House. Of course, Marine One returned President Obama and his daughters to the White House from Andrews Air Force Base following their Christmas vacation in Hawaii. Well, NBC's Peter Alexander was given rare access to the fleet and the people behind it. Peter, good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. We're standing outside the West Wing this morning as the president returns to work today. Like Air Force One, the call sign Marine One is only used when the president is on board. But the presidential helicopter squadron also flies the vice president, as well as foreign heads of state, even the Pope when they travel here. And recently, NBC News was invited on board.
30 miles south of Washington, D.C., this high-security hangar inside Marine Corps Base Quantico is called The Cage. It's home to the fleet of unmistakable white-topped aircraft, the helicopters assigned to fly the president, known as Marine One. Not a single helicopter, but more than 30 aircraft in all. This exclusive squadron is called HMX-1, a hand-picked team of more than 700 pilots, specialists, and mechanics, like 23-year-old Corporal Casey Kirkpatrick. Among the things you check is the door.
Yes, this is very important. The president sits right on the other side of this door.
Marine One's been shuttling presidents since Dwight Eisenhower was in office. It's where a disgraced Richard Nixon waved goodbye and George W. Bush brought along his best friend. Today, Marine One flies President Obama across the country and around the world. 137 trips last year alone.
The best thing I do is to stand out there and salute him as the crew chief. That's the greatest honor for me.
Staff Sergeant Jason Diaz is one of 4 Marine One crew chiefs, elected by his peers and responsible for the entire helicopter. Every minute detail is closely inspected, checking the engines, polishing the exterior, manicuring the carpet inside. If necessary, the squadron even builds some of its own parts. The final touch, the presidential seal, often under the watchful eyes of Staff Sergeant Valjean Bauer. What little details are you looking for?
Everything has to be picture perfect. I look it over. Once everybody's done, I look over, make sure that it's the way I want it. And if there's even just the tiniest little smudge, I go back over and say, no, you need to redo that.
Not just anyone can fly the president. After 3 years of training, only 4 pilots make it to Marine One. Among this year's class, Major Nate Storm.
There's so much riding on that. You know, the most powerful man in the world is riding in the back of your helicopter. It is pretty stressful.
That training includes hours inside a flight simulator that challenges pilots to execute a precise landing at one of the world's most famous addresses. Major Storm briefly handed me the controls.
There we go. Yeah, sorry.
The
simulator has a little bit of a tendency to try to drift to the left when you first take it off.
Next time, remind me to take my Dramamine.
Yeah, I tell you what.
But nothing compares to the real thing. This is probably where Marine One lands most often, the White House South Lawn. And NBC News was given access on board as the Marine One crew practiced takeoffs and landings with the president away. Marine One flies roughly 200 feet above the ground, confined to a narrow flight path winding around some of the Capitol's iconic landmarks.
Flying right beside the Jefferson Memorial, make that right-hand turn by the Washington Monument, and that thing is beautiful. You know, that'll take your breath away.
This is what the FAA refers to as prohibited airspace. The only aircraft allowed to fly freely into this zone is Marine One. And as routine as it may seem, pilots rehearse each flight before picking up the president. The biggest challenge, the final approach and landing. Surrounded by trees on both sides, pilots say it's like flying between skyscrapers in Manhattan.
You definitely do kind of feel like you're putting a pretty big helicopter in a tiny little avenue.
Marine One must line up perfectly with 3 red discs on the grass, putting it on the boards, pilots call it, all with cameras rolling and the world's most powerful passenger on board.
And the presidential helicopters also have unique security features that remain top secret. One of the things that really struck me, Savannah, on board was just how quiet it is. You can carry on a conversation very differently than on a normal helicopter or on a plane. And as we flew, landing on the South Lawn 6 times, you got for a moment a sense of what it feels like to be president. There were literally thousands of people lining the ellipse below us, giving us a little better understanding of what it looks like to look down at the Americans smiling up at you.
Yeah, that's one of the perks of the White House. A nice ride home. All right, Peter Alexander, thank you so much.